Hello everyone and welcome to another episode in our series of contemporary Western philosophy. Last time we saw Nietzsche's philosophy of God. Today we'll dive directly into Nietzsche's philosophy of the world. Now, Nietzsche had a unique view of the world, rejecting traditional ideas and embracing bold, adventurous thinking. Now, he believed that the early Greek philosophers, that is, before Socrates, had the right approach. And he introduced the idea of eternal recurrence, which challenged people to fully embrace life. More into this we shall see in today's video. So, let's dive directly into Nietzsche's love for the Pre-Socratics. Now, we see that most people think of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle as the greatest philosophers of ancient Greece. But Nietzsche disagreed that Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle were the greatest philosophers of ancient Greece. He believed that the best thinkers came before Socrates, that is, the pre-Socratic philosophers. Now, who are these? These would be Heraclitus, Anaximander, and Parmenides. Now, why? Because they focused on nature, change, and the cosmic forces of the world. They explored big questions about existence instead of focusing on morality, rules, and reason. Now, think of a child who loves exploring nature, that is, watching stars, feeling the wind, and wondering how the universe works. That's what the pre-Socratic thinkers were like. They were curious and they were open to adventure. But then came Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, who introduced strict rules about morality, logic, and reason. And Nietzsche saw this as a step backward. Instead of embracing the beauty of the world, instead of embracing the power of the world, people became focused on rules and limitations. And that was what was Nietzsche's complaint. Well, first and foremost, he said that pre-Socratic thinkers said, embrace the world, enjoy its mysteries. And Socrates and Plato said, use reason and follow strict laws. Now, Nietzsche believed that this, what Socrates and Plato said, killed human freedom and courage. Next is the idea of eternal recurrence. The whole question that we can ask ourselves is, would you live your life again? Maybe a question that we can ponder at some point of time in our lives. Now, Nietzsche introduced this fascinating idea, and the whole idea behind this is everything in life will repeat over and over again forever. Something kind of a loop that we have. Now, what does this mean? Imagine that your entire life, every moment, every decision, every joy and every pain would be repeated over and over and over again. Exactly the same thing, as if a replay is happening in life. Now, the question that he asks is, if it were true, would you still want to live the same life? If yes, it means that you truly love life and embrace every moment. If no, it means that you are not fully living your life. You regret too much and you are afraid of suffering. So think of a person who loves their life, even the painful moments. This is because they see the painful moments as lessons for improvement, as stepping stones to success. They would gladly relive everything because they say a yes to life. On the other hand, if someone hates their life and sees only the regrets and the misery in life, they would dread the idea of reliving it forever. And why did Nietzsche talk about this? So Nietzsche wanted people to live so fully, so fearlessly, that they would gladly relive their lives forever. He believed only the strongest people, the ones who embrace the will to power, could accept this idea of eternal recurrence with joy. And therefore, what is Nietzsche's challenge to us? So, the challenge that Nietzsche puts before each and every one is this. First and foremost, live with no regrets. So that if life is repeated forever, you wouldn't change a thing. Why? Because you have already accepted what life has been giving you and you are living without any regrets. Next, he would say embrace suffering. It is part of life, and he says that even suffering, pain and failure are part of life. Inevitable. You can't avoid it. Hence, embrace suffering instead of complaining. And finally, say yes to life. Instead of fearing death, instead of hoping for afterlife, live this life, do everything in this life. And Nietzsche contrasted this idea with pessimists like Schopenhauer, who believed that life was full of suffering and should be rejected. Nietzsche thought that this was weak. Instead, he wanted people to be bold, strong and joyful in life, no matter the hardships. And finally, at the end of our study of Friedrich Nietzsche, maybe we can ask ourselves these questions. What have we learned from Nietzsche? Well, now Nietzsche first and foremost challenges us to think differently about life. So therefore we can ask ourselves, do we see life as an adventure or do we see it as a burden? Secondly, are we living fully or are we trapped by rules and regrets? And finally, if our life were to be repeated like an loop or a replay, same thing happening over and over again, would we be happy? So with this, dear friends, we come to an end on our study of Friedrich Nietzsche. Next time, we'll take a look at another philosopher from the philosophy of life movement, and that is Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. So till then, see you next time.